Hi dear students, welcome to my class. This is for ninth students. The chapter is matter around us pure. From 3 to 4 days we are discussing about these separating techniques. Right, Nama? In last class also we discussed the separating techniques. One of the separating techniques that means how can we obtain defined gases from air. So how can we obtain? By using by applying high pressure and decreasing the temperature, we get the what different gases by fractional distillation method. By fractional distillation method, we get different gases from the air. In this class, I am going to discussing about the how can we obtain a pure copper sulfate. How can we obtain? How can we obtain? How can we obtain pure pure copper sulfate CuSO4 copper sulfate from an impure sample from impure sample. This is an activity. So take some little bit of 5 grams of impure sample of copper sulfate in a china dish. I am taking a china dish. In this china dish, I am taking 5 grams of impure copper sulfate. Okay, ma? Impure copper sulfate. I am taking this impure copper sulfate. So this copper sulfate dissolved in minimum amount of salt, minimum amount of water. If the water just dissolve. Okay, I am going to dissolve this copper sulfate by using water, minimum amount of water. So for removing of impurities, you have to use the filtration process. By filtration process, we have to remove the impurities out. So evaporates the water from the copper sulfate. Evaporates the water from this copper sulfate. How? This is by from this evaporation we get a saturated solution. Saturated solution of copper sulfate. Saturated solution of copper sulfate. How can we get saturated copper solution? This in this china dish, water and copper sulfate is there na. So by filtration process we remove the impurities. By evaporation process, from the this mixture water is evaporates out and we get the maximum saturated solution. Saturated means it is highly solute contained mixture, solute contained solution. Okay, Nama? That means the percentage of copper sulfate is high. Copper sulfate solution percentage is high. That means no more solute can be dissolved. That's we call as saturated solutions. Okay, Nama? After this getting a saturated solution, cover this solution with the filter paper. By using filter paper, we have to cover this copper sulfate saturated solution. So for a day, leave it undisturbed at room temperature, cool slowly for a day. After one day, you will get the crystals of copper sulfate. After one day, it will appear as crystals of pure copper sulfate. pure copper sulfate on this china dish. Okay, Rama? On this china dish we get the copper crystals. For this process name is forming crystals now. That's why the name is crystallization. 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 The process name. Saturated solution is changes into or obtained into crystal form. That's why the name is crystallization. See dear students, the crystallization method is used to purify the solids. Crystallization is used to purify the solids. Purifying solids. Purifying the solids, we use the crystallizations. So from this, the crystallization process has many uses or applications. The main application is the salt we get where the common salt is there now. That common salts we get from the sea water right now. This is also one of the application of this what crystallizations. The sea water contains many impurities right now. In sea water, it with the common salt NaCl, this dissolves so many salts by using crystallization. By using crystallization process, we get the pure NaCl. That means remove of impurities. The process of crystallization is used. From the crystallization process, we get the pure crystals of sodium chloride. So, what is meant by this crystallization? Crystallization is a process. Crystallization is a process. What it does? The separates a pure solid. From crystallization, it separates a pure solid. Separates a pure solid in the form of crystals. In the form of its crystals. In the form of crystals. That's why crystallization in the form of crystals. From its solution. From a solution. This is what crystallization. This crystallization technique is better than evaporations. Why this evaporation? From when compared to crystallization and evaporation, crystallization is the best method. Why? So some solids are decomposed, some are not decomposed. Like our sugar. So from the sugar cane, we get the sugars right now. It may get charred on heating to get the dryness. If you apply the more temperature to the sugar white colored sugar will changes into black colored compound that we call as charred. That's why. And some impurities may remain dissolved in the solution even after also filtration. After filtration, we also get some impurities dissolves in the solutions. At the time of evaporation, these are contaminated. That means on filtration, we didn't get the pure compounds. That's why we use the crystallization is the best method to purify the solids from a solutions. Okay, Nama? This is all about today's class. How can we obtain pure copper sulfate from impure sample? Okay, na? I repeat once again. First, I am taking a china dish. In this china dish, I am taking 5 grams of impure copper sulfate. For this, adding some water. Minimum amount of water is added. Now we get the water and copper sulfate mixture. So, for removing the impurities, we have to follow the filtration process. From the filtration, we have to remove the impurities. Then we have to apply the one more process, that is evaporation. From the evaporation, water is evaporates out. So from water is evaporates, we get the saturated solutions of copper sulfate. If you leave it undisturbedly for cooling one day, so it will appear as a copper crystals. in on the this china dish. This process we call as a crystallization process. Okay, this is all we call as what is meant by crystallizations. Crystallizations is a very useful for the purifying of solids. Generally, it is a process. It is a process separate a pure solid. Separates a pure solid in form of its crystals from a solutions. This is all crystallization. In the next class, we will deeply discuss the applications of this crystallization process. Generally, you have to use the water filters in your homes. Okay, Nama? That process is done by behind that water filtration process. The crystallization process is also there. One of the important applications. Or purification of salts from the sea water. This is very applicable, very important. Okay, na? So in the next class we will discuss the applications of this crystallizations. Thank you.